Hello everyone, here at OS Reviews. You're watching our hands-on review of the Foscam R2C. This is a pan and tilt camera that has a motor on its base and as well as on its head that allows it to swivel and see more of a room within one shot, and it retails for about $50, which is reasonably affordable. It's a pretty generic concept by now. We've seen lots of these security cameras, but Foscam is one of the better brands out of Shenzhen, China, mainly because their app includes 1 GB of free cloud storage, which many of its competitors don't offer. It supports a micro SD card if you want to save your footage locally. It has two-way audio, so you can talk using the phone and communicate with the speaker, whoever is listening on the other side. And it also has, again, the IR night mode, intelligent motion, and again, 2 megapixel is the camera sensor size produced by Sony. In the box, we have an instruction manual right on top, says quick start setup guide, and Foscam is using the same app as they always do with all of their security cameras. So if you have multiple sets from the company, you only need one app to monitor all of it, which is nice. The camera itself comes in 2 colors, I think a black and a white. On the bottom here, you can actually see some of the circuits, which is very interesting. There's a QR code that you can scan using the app on your phone for the first time when you're binding it with your Foscam app, which works with both iOS and Android. Here's the lens, which has a 120-degree field of view, and on the top there's the speaker-microphone combo, and on the back there's an Ethernet port if you want to connect it using wired internet instead of Wi-Fi. Within the inner compartment, we get an antenna for the Wi-Fi to extend the signal strength, so it looks like this when it's sitting on a desk. And there's also a mount, which you get as well. If you want to put it onto a flat, let's say, wall or onto a ceiling somewhere, you can mount it using these screws located onto the back of the mount, and it would simply sit like this. We also have the Ethernet cable in addition to the proprietary charger for power. Plugging into power, here's the initial boot up sequence. It's going to start to rotate on all of its axes as a test of its motors are working. Infrared is going to blink once, and there are voice-guided prompts just like the past Foscam cameras that we've reviewed. When you hear that, you just need to take a look at the app, which again is simply called Foscam for both iOS and Android. You would launch into it, and then tap on Add a Camera after creating an account so it can securely encrypt your information. So tap on plus, and I'm going to tap on the camera. I heard that it wanted us to connect to the internet, and now I'm going to scan the QR code on the very base of this camera. So I've entered the Wi-Fi password for my home router, and it's created a QR code which the camera now needs to read. So it simply needs to take a look at this QR code within a distance of, I would say, roughly 5 to 6 inches away, and we are now successful. So we can see what the camera is looking at. Right now it's in color because it's bright enough inside the room. So taking a look at the interface, it's pretty simple, and not that much has changed since the last Foscam camera that we reviewed, which was actually the C2 about 2 years ago. The interface is very simple. We just have, again, a viewfinder screen here. I can tap to unmute it if I want to listen to the sound that's being picked up by the microphone and then sent to the cloud for you to hear on your phone, tablet, or computer. And I can also change the resolution of the playback, whether it's full HD, HD, which is 720p, or standard definition, which is 480p. So if you are low on bandwidth, or if your Wi-Fi is kind of slow in network speed, you can change the resolution a little bit lower so it plays back at a faster frame rate. So for instance, I can tap on the plus key here to move the lens upwards, and I can also tap on bottom to move it downwards. So what's kind of impressive here is that the R2C does have a pretty silent motor, and it's actually quite responsive. There is a little bit of a latency lag with the video footage. If your Wi-Fi router is a little slow or far away, it's about a split second, so about 1 second behind. But the motor itself actually seems to be very responsive. You can see there's almost no delay from pressing a button on the phone to having an action happen in real life, despite the fact that the router in our testing right now is actually in a different floor of the building. Field of view is also decent, I would say, again, at roughly 120 degrees, not the widest. The widest that we've seen is about 150, 170 degrees, but you can still see plenty of the room if you put it in a corner on something like a bookshelf and then looking outwards. And with notifications turned on, they do appear in real time. There's actually not too much delay at all. So as motion is activated and show up onto your notification feed, which is actually pretty cool. Tapping on these 3 dots on the bottom here brings up additional settings. I can actually change the exposure mode that the camera is in, such as auto. I can also tap on night, so it forces on the infrared lights and will transition into black and white. There's also the day mode, so you can switch back and forth between these two manually. I can also set a schedule. So for instance, at 8 p.m. every every day go into night mode because that's when the lights turn off in this particular room. Down below here, I can also tap on motion tracking features. So I can turn on a motion detection or a sound detection, and if I activate those two, it's going to start sending notifications over to my phone. On the third panel here, I can also flip or mirror the image, so some very basic filters and editing tools that you can apply to the image that you're looking at. And I can also turn on a sleep mode, so at certain times I can turn it off if I'm certain there's not going to be any activity, and things like alarm settings, sync settings, rebooting the camera, it can all be done directly from the app, which is actually pretty interesting. So there's definitely more advanced settings that you get with a Foscam device than, let's say, a comparable Xiaomi, which is all about the simplicity. This gives you more advanced things to play around with. A quick look at some image samples, as well as this is what the night vision view is like. You can see everything is indeed in black and white, but it still shows off a good amount of detail in terms of text, as well as maybe someone moving in the footage. You can still see their facial features without any problems, and it has the IR lights, which are bright enough to illuminate subjects up to 25 to 30 feet away. So within a small room, you should be completely fine. So for instance, this was an image that was using the black and white infrared light with everything turned off in this particular room, but you can see how there's still quite a lot of detail here, and it almost looks like it's daytime where there's lots of lights turned on, but it's just in black and white. But in reality, the room was completely dark when we took this image. So pretty impressive there, but not the greatest amount of detail, which is kind of expected from a 2 megapixel sensor, but enough that you can get a sense of what's happening. So if I zoom in and crop in, you can see that, again, details for images are showing up without too many issues. And same thing here with this look at this bookshelf. Everything is fully readable and legible. I can also take a look at the same image, which was captured in the color mode, and this is what it looks like. This was captured with a light pointing at the bookshelf, so with good lighting, this is basically what the image quality is like. And then the next image is with the light turning away from the bookshelf, so it's capturing using the color mode, but with poor lighting. Still a good amount of detail, but a little bit softer edges if I zoom on in, and you can see the kind of the comparison between these two shots. Finally, this last one was just our tabletop here, and again, pretty decent when it comes to color accuracy. It has a slightly colder tint, but not too bad since, again, it's primarily used for surveillance, so you don't need to have it be the best camera in the world. So that's the Foscam R2C. It's not the most exciting thing in the world because we've seen many pan and tilt regular security cameras by now. So I guess this would be a good fit if you're looking for a basic pan and tilt camera for the house. It's not going to suit outdoor usage because it doesn't have any waterproof rating at all, but it does have a very silent motor, which is great because if someone is nearby, they're not going to be able to hear that you're actually moving it around and trying to detect and pick up motion. Also, I'm really impressed with the fact that Foscam gives you 1 gig of free cloud storage basically every week that you can use to quickly look back at some content directly without having to insert a SD card or purchase a more expensive plan. You can check out more details about the Foscam R2C in the links down below, but for now this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the Foscam Pan and Tilt budget security camera, the R2C.